to Rising. I'm Amber Duke, joined remotely by Jessica Burbank. Good morning, Jessica.
Good to be with you. We are both in black. We always get the memo. We're matching again, but we're not here to talk about matching. We're here to talk about Manchin.
That's right. Democratic gadfly and hardline centrist Joe Manchin will not be seeking another term as senator. Let's watch what he had to say.
I know our country isn't as divided as Washington wants us to believe. We share common values of family, freedom, democracy, dignity, and a belief that together we can overcome any challenge. We need to take back America and not let this divisive hatred further pull us apart. Public service has and continues to drive me every day. That is the vow that I made to my father over 40 years ago, and I intend to keep that vow until my dying day.
Now, in order to hold the Senate in 2024, Democrats must defend Montana, Ohio, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and that doesn't even include the need to secure the White House.
Now, as for Joe Manchin, of course, yesterday's move did nothing to tamper speculation. We might see him throw his hat into the presidential race in 2028 or perhaps even 2024. It sounds like in this speech, Amber, he was talking about going around the country, bridging that common ground, the things that most Americans have in common that he says the White House would like us to believe we don't. That sounds like someone who has some more political aspirations. It sounds like someone who's going to run for president.
It does sound that way. There's been tons of speculation over the past few months about what Joe Manchin's political future was going to be. And he has $10 million in the bank for a potential reelection campaign. So it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do with that money. There's more reasons why people think he might be running for president. Him and his daughter have apparently been pitching to donors the idea of a $100 million centrist political project targeting the quote-unquote political homeless. His daughter, Heather Manchin, said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal a couple of months ago that she had registered the nonprofit organization called Americans Together. Joe Manchin has also spoken at several events for No Labels, which is the independent political nonprofit that's been toying with the idea of launching an independent no labels ticket to challenge Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the 2024 election. And they released a statement today, actually, in response to Joe Manchin not running for re-election. And they said, regarding our No Labels Unity presidential ticket, we are gathering input from our members across the country to understand the kind of leaders they would like to see in the White House. We will make a decision by early 2024 about whether we will nominate a Unity presidential ticket and who will be on it, which seems like a pretty clear indication that Joe Manchin's name is probably near the top of the list for whoever they would recruit to run on that ticket. So I think the speculation is absolutely warranted for the idea that Manchin might go ahead and launch a bid against particularly Joe Biden, but also, as an independent, he'd be running against Trump as well.
Yeah, I don't see him starting an organization with his daughter as him suggesting he's not going to work with No Labels. I think that's just passing the torch down, as many political families do, getting his daughter involved with something stable in American politics. The group No Labels is fascinating to me because showing up on the American political scene and saying, I am not aligned with any particular ideology, I'm not professing what my values are, I'm in the middle. It's like putting up a for sale sign in American politics. A lot of their major donors are natural gas giants, CEOs. They're not representing the common man. They're representing the common ground between the corporate establishment of either political party. And I think maybe they try and say, what we're doing is bridging the gap. We're reaching those people that have no political home. That's what they're trying to convince the American public, perhaps, but dollars don't vote, people do. And I just don't see a group like that garnering the support of a lot of Americans. I think the problem is that a lot of people are disenfranchised, apathetic about our political process. They don't want to be a part of it. They've been intentionally excluded from it, a lot of them. And so an organization like this, I just don't see getting the base necessary for someone like Manchin being a real contender.
Yeah, I think that's right. I've always had a problem with no labels in the sense that I think it represents the worst aspects of each political party, whether it's the neoconservatism and the warmongering from both the Republican and Democratic establishment. They completely punt on social issues entirely. They don't want to talk about social cultural issues at all. They're also pretty pro big corporation. They seem to have no interest in taking on the anti-competition monopolistic nature of corporations today in American politics, and also the massive influence of lobbyists and corporations in deciding what issues the political parties focus on. So the idea that they are the voice for the voiceless, I think, is pretty ridiculous, considering the position that they take on pretty much every issue is very much in line with the uniparty and what they're doing in Congress and in the White House. So I completely agree on no labels. I don't really have much respect for them as an institution, I would say. The other question that we have to look at with Manchin's retirement is who will replace him in the Senate, and if that retirement will in fact give Republicans control in 2024. And it looks like that's very likely. Right now, Alex Mooney and Jim Justice, the West Virginia governor, are going to be probably running for that seat. And Jim Justice looks like the most popular candidate. Looks like he would probably cruise to election because he is incredibly popular in West Virginia. He recently changed parties from Democrat to Republican, which was something a lot of people thought Manchin was going to do, but he never did. So if Jim Justice is able to win in West Virginia and Democrats can't, win that seat and also keep all of the other ones that they have to in order to keep control of the Senate, I think it's very likely that you could see either a Democratic White House with Republican-controlled Congress or a Republican trifecta.
This is one of those moments where we're going to see the more liberal mainline Democrats just melt down, that they're going to potentially lose a seat here with Joe Manchin. But they didn't have that seat to begin with. Joe Manchin was to the right of a lot of Republicans. So I think any Democrats framing this like a loss makes absolutely no sense to me. He's a Democrat only in name. And I don't think he's the kind of person that's a trailblazer, a leader, someone with independent views. He doesn't strike me as an independent thinker. A lot of what he got done when he was in the Senate was putting himself directly in the middle of pivotal legislation and being the guy that says, you know what, I don't think I'm going to vote that way. And then he asks for concessions. That's not what's required from a lot of leadership positions. I don't think he has the experience needed to be a leader. It's very easy to say, yeah, I'll vote with you guys. I'll vote with you all on the economic stimulus. And then last minute, throw a fit, say you're not voting with anyone, force Joe Biden to have a conversation with you. And that's how you want to get things done. That's how you want to have your voice heard. It's just not someone with the experience of a leader. He has no leadership capabilities if that's how he got things done in the Senate. So I don't really think we should look to him as this leader figure who can meet everyone in the middle, because he's never been that. He's never been a leader.
Yeah, I do think it is worth giving him praise, though, for the fact that he was willing to buck the typical Democratic party line on some issues. I mean, on that fight regarding the Inflation Reduction Act, he said, I'm not buying into the Green New Deal climate agenda because my state relies on coal and natural gas and nuclear power for its job creation. And I would be putting all of my constituents out of work, a vast majority of my state's economy out of work and potentially into a recession if I were to go along with those issues. So I thought it was refreshing to see somebody who was more interested in actually representing their constituents' best interests rather than going along with whatever his party said that he had to go along with. So you might have disagreed with some of the stances that he took, but we can't say that he wasn't, I think, in a sense, courageous for being willing to not toe the party line on certain issues and approach things with a little bit more of an independent mind. But we'll see what's next for his political future. We'll see if he ends up getting on that unity ticket for no labels and if people are buying the idea that he is in fact a maverick or somebody who represents the average American, the common man, as you said. We'll be back with more Rising next.